My name is Claire. I'm 28 years old and currently a senior project manager at one of the top tech companies in San Francisco. Just yesterday, I found out that someone had been accessing my account after hours. That someone turned out to be Marcus, the CEO's son, who only joined our company a month ago. Instead of rushing to report him, I decided to set up something different. Something that would teach him a lesson he would never forget. If you've ever worked with entitled coworkers who think the rules don't apply to them, let me know where you're watching from. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because you'll definitely want to see how this plays out. I've been with Fast Track Solutions for 6 years, climbing from junior analyst to senior project manager. Our company builds enterprise software for major corporations nationwide. The tech world is already fiercely competitive, but Fast Track takes it a step further. We've built our reputation on groundbreaking innovations and delivering complex projects faster than anyone else. That success didn't happen overnight. It came from long nights, impossible deadlines, and the relentless vision of our founder and CEO, Richard Cole. Thomas is a towering figure in the tech industry. At 52, he's already founded and sold 2 successful startups before building Fast Track 12 years ago. Despite his intimidating presence, most of us respect him because he's tough, but fair. He demands excellence, but he also rewards it. I always admired that about him. At least, until he brought his son into the company. Adrian Cole graduated from Stanford just 4 months ago with a business degree. At 24, he's smart, confident, and clearly inherited his father's charisma. But unlike Thomas, Marcus hasn't endured the failures and hard lessons that shape true leadership. Instead of starting in an entry-level role like everyone else, Marcus was immediately handed a mid-level management position, overseeing 3 departments, mine included. "I believe in throwing people into the deep end," Thomas said during the meeting where Marcus was introduced. "Sink or swim. That's how I learned, and that's how my son will learn." The real issue wasn't just the obvious nepotism. I could have overlooked that if Marcus had shown humility or a willingness to learn. But instead, he walked around the office as if he owned it, which, through his trust fund shares, he partly did. During his first week, I tried to help. I invited him to shadow me in client meetings and even offered to show him our project management systems. His response? "Thanks, Claire, but I already know how this stuff works," he said with a casual wave. "I did a summer internship at Google, remember? Plus, my dad and I talk business all the time." His arrogance was staggering. Still, I reminded myself that Thomas had always valued results over excuses. Surely he wouldn't tolerate incompetence, not even from his own son. So I stayed focused on my work, especially our high-profile Apex Corporation project. One Wednesday, over lunch in the break room, my colleague Elizabeth looked frustrated. "Did you hear what Marcus said in the marketing meeting?" she asked, stabbing at her salad. "He told the team their campaign looked like something a first-year marketing student would come up with. Then he suggested scrapping 3 months of work to try his idea instead. Was his idea any good?" I asked. Elizabeth rolled her eyes. "It was literally the same strategy Dell used last year." When Brandon pointed that out, Marcus just shrugged and said, "Well, my father thinks execution matters more than originality." Stories like that became common. Marcus would throw his weight around, undermine decisions made by seasoned professionals, and constantly remind everyone who his father was. The Apex project was our biggest opportunity of the year. Apex Corporation, a Fortune 100 company, was looking to overhaul its entire digital infrastructure, a contract potentially worth $50 million over the next 5 years. Thomas had assigned me as project lead because of my track record with similar clients. "Claire, I need your very best on this one," he told me during our briefing. Apex could be the client that takes us from a successful mid-size firm to a major industry player. I handpicked a team of our strongest talent, and together we spent weeks crafting a comprehensive proposal that covered every aspect of Apex's needs. Everything was on track for our big presentation next Friday, until Marcus decided to insert himself. "Dad says Apex could be a real game changer for us," he remarked one afternoon, leaning casually on my desk. "I think I should be more involved." After all, I'll be inheriting the company one day. I tried to stay diplomatic. We're in the final stages of preparation, but you're welcome to review what we've completed so far. I can send you the overview documents. No need, he replied with that infuriating smile. Just copy me on all communications going forward. I learn better when I'm in the loop in real time. What could I say? He was the CEO's son. I added him to the email chain, hoping he'd simply observe. Instead, he immediately began questioning everything, pushing for changes that undermined our carefully planned strategy, and scheduling pointless meetings that ate away at our preparation time. The breaking point came when, during a team session, Marcus casually announced that he'd be happy to lead the presentation to Apex himself. The room went silent. Everyone turned toward me, waiting for my response. My pulse quickened, but I kept my voice steady. The presentation structure has already been approved by your father, I said calmly. But if you'd like, I can discuss it with him again. Marcus narrowed his eyes. No need. I'll talk to him myself. That was the moment I realized. Marcus didn't see me as a trusted senior manager. He saw me as competition, not an ally, but an obstacle standing between him and a fast track to power. And the Apex project was his golden opportunity to push me aside. It was nearly 9:30 on a Tuesday night when my phone buzzed with a notification. I was still at the office, polishing details for the Apex presentation. The alert came from our IT security system. Someone had logged into my account from an unrecognized device. At first, I assumed it was a glitch. I often logged in from home or my phone, but both devices were already authorized. This was different. I checked the details. The login came from within our building, using an IP address not linked to me. Something clicked. Earlier that day, during our status meeting, Marcus had sat unusually close, peering over my shoulder as I typed. At the time, I thought he was just being intrusive. Now I wondered if he had been watching me enter my password. I quickly called Amanda from IT security, hoping she was still online. Hey, Claire. Working late again? She said. Yes, I replied. And I just got a strange login alert. Can you check if someone's accessing my account right now? After a short pause, Amanda confirmed, yes, there's an active session from the executive floor, conference room B, the executive floor. Marcus's office was right there. Conference room B was rarely used at night, except for its smart display system. Can you see what files they're opening? I asked, my suspicion hardening into certainty. Give me a minute, Amanda replied, fingers clicking across her keyboard. They're inside your Apex folders. Proposal documents, financial projections, slides. Basically everything tied to Friday's presentation. My heart sank. Apex represented months of work and, more importantly, the company's future. That $50 million deal could reshape Fast Track, expand us into new markets, and attract top talent away from competitors. Thomas had been clear about how critical it was. I remembered a conversation just days earlier, when Marcus had pressed me for more details. As a member of the executive team, I need to be fully briefed on every part of this proposal, he'd said firmly. I've already shared the executive summary with you and your father, I told him. The technical details will be finalized by Wednesday, and I'll update everyone then. He hadn't liked that answer. That doesn't give me much time to prepare if I'm going to present parts of it. Thomas and I have already discussed the lineup, I said firmly. But you're welcome to join Thursday's rehearsal. Marcus's cold smile still echoed in my mind. We'll see about that. Now I knew exactly what he'd meant. He was combing through my files, memorizing every detail, planning to pitch it as his own. Amanda, how long has this been happening? I asked. She checked the logs. Looks like it's been going on for about a week. Always after hours. Always from the executive floor. Mostly your Apex materials, but also your performance reviews and past project files. My stomach dropped. My performance reviews were private, containing personal notes and feedback from Thomas. Was Marcus looking for weaknesses? Ammunition to use against me? Can you confirm who it is? I asked, though I already knew. Amanda hesitated. Officially, I can't identify a user without HR or Thomas authorizing it. But unofficially? The access times match Adrian Cole's badge swipes into the building. I thanked her and asked her to keep this quiet for now. Then I sat back, thinking through my options. I could go to Thomas, but would he believe me over his own son? Marcus would likely claim he was just doing his due diligence. Or worse, say I had given him permission. It would become my word against his. Confronting Marcus directly felt just as dangerous. He'd already gone behind my back once. A head-on clash might only push him to try harder to discredit me. As I weighed my choices, a memory surfaced from a leadership seminar I'd attended last year. The speaker, a former CEO, had shared a story about a colleague who tried to steal his work. Instead of stopping him, the CEO let him present an unfinished version, then stepped in with the polished, correct solution at the last minute, saving the day. Sometimes, the speaker had said, you have to let people fail on their own terms before they can learn. And that's when a plan began to form in my mind. If Marcus wanted to steal my work, maybe I should let him, but not the real work. Not the carefully built proposal my team had poured their hearts into. Instead, something that looked convincing at first glance but wouldn't survive serious scrutiny from experts like the Apex team. I picked up my phone and called Amanda back, my nerves mixing with determination. Amanda, I need your help with something a little unorthodox, I began. I'm listening, she replied, curiosity in her tone. I want to set up a shadow system, a duplicate of my Apex files with altered information. Marcus needs to think he's accessing my real work, but he'll actually be looking at carefully modified decoys. Amanda went quiet for a moment. You mean a honeypot? She asked, using the IT term for a trap that detects unauthorized access. Exactly. Can we do it so that when my stolen credentials are used from an unauthorized device, the decoys appear instead of the real files? Technically, yes, Amanda said slowly. We can create a mirrored environment that only triggers under those conditions. But Claire, this is risky. If Thomas finds out, I know, I admitted. But what's the alternative? Let Marcus steal months of work and jeopardize the Apex deal with his inexperience? We're not locking him out, just giving him a false version. If he'd asked properly, he'd have the real files, Amanda sighed. All right, come up to IT. This will take a few hours. Until nearly 3 a.m., we worked side by side, creating decoy files. I was careful not to make the flaws too obvious. Marcus had to believe they were real until it was too late. We altered financial projections, making them look strong, but hiding inconsistencies that Apex experts would instantly flag. We tweaked technical specs to sound impressive, but rely on outdated methods. We adjusted timelines to be unrealistically aggressive, a dead giveaway to anyone experienced in large-scale projects. The whole time, anxiety tugged at me. Was I being petty? Was I risking the company's future just to put Marcus in his place? But then I remembered how he had accessed my personal reviews, how he had undermined me at every turn, how ready he was to take credit for my team's work. No, this wasn't just about me. This was about fairness, about merit, about the very values Thomas claimed to champion. If Marcus wanted to succeed, he needed to earn it honestly, not by stealing from others. Still, one concern nagged me. The legal side. Could this be seen as entrapment? Amanda shrugged. He's the one accessing your account without permission. That's already a violation of policy and possibly illegal. But if you're unsure, you should check with someone who knows the law. The next morning, before heading in, I called my friend Michael, a corporate attorney. So let me get this straight, Michael said after I explained. The CEO's son stole your login credentials, has been pulling confidential files, and now you're setting up decoys to catch him? That's correct. Is it legal? I asked. Michael chuckled. What he's doing definitely isn't. It likely violates corporate policy, computer fraud statutes, maybe even espionage laws. As for you, you're not denying him access or harming the company. You're just controlling what he sees through credentials he shouldn't have. My advice? Document everything. Keep logs of the unauthorized access. Save both the real and decoy files with timestamps. Write down your reasoning, and make sure you keep the real presentation ready. If things go wrong, the company's interests have to come first. I thanked him, promised to update him, and steeled myself for a day of careful acting. At the office, I made a point of working on the decoy files in visible spaces, printing sections, reviewing pages in common areas where Marcus might notice. I saved updated versions to the shared folders I knew he was monitoring. Meanwhile, the real files stayed locked on an encrypted drive Amanda had set up for me. My team kept working on the actual proposal, though I told them we were tightening security because of the project's importance. Only use the secure link I emailed you, I instructed. And don't discuss details outside of our meetings. They were puzzled, but they trusted me. Most had been with the company long enough to understand confidentiality protocols. As the day wore on, I felt torn. Part of me was thrilled at the idea of finally exposing Marcus's schemes. Another part of me was terrified I'd look vindictive. Or worse, unprofessional. What if Thomas believed his son no matter what? I could lose everything, but it was too late to turn back. Amanda confirmed Marcus had accessed the decoys again during lunch while most of the team was away. He downloaded the entire presentation package. The doctored files are now on his personal laptop, she reported. I exhaled slowly. The trap was set. Now it was just a matter of waiting. The next morning, Marcus strutted into the office with smug confidence. He gave me a knowing smile as he headed straight for his father's office. Through the glass, I could see him animatedly pitching ideas while Thomas listened in silence. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. It was Thomas's assistant. Claire, Mr. Reynolds would like to see you in his office immediately. I grabbed my tablet, loaded with both the real and decoy files, and walked to the CEO's office. Marcus was already there, lounging with a self-satisfied grin. Claire, come in, Thomas said, motioning to a chair. Marcus has been sharing some thoughts about the Apex presentation. Oh, I replied evenly. I'd love to hear them, Marcus sat forward. I've been reviewing the project materials, and I think our approach could use some refinement. Given how important this client is, I believe we should put our best foot forward. I agree completely, I said with a polite smile. Great, Marcus continued. So I've suggested to Dad that I take the lead on the presentation. I have experience presenting to C-level executives from my time at Stanford, and I think a fresh perspective would really strengthen our pitch. Thomas looked at me expectantly. What are your thoughts, Claire? You've led this project from the very beginning. This was the moment of truth. I could push back, demand to present myself and avoid the risk of my plan. Or I could let Marcus walk straight into the trap I had built for him. I hesitated just long enough to make it seem like I was reluctantly weighing the idea. Marcus certainly brings a unique perspective, I said carefully. If you think this is best for the company, I'm willing to support him. Though I'd like to be there as well, to help answer any technical questions that might come up. Marcus looked briefly disappointed that I hadn't argued harder, but his smile returned quickly. Of course. We'll make a great team. I'll handle the big picture strategy, and you can jump in with the technical details if needed. Thomas studied me closely, as though sensing something unusual in my calm agreement. Are you certain, Claire? This project has been yours since day one, I nodded. The company's success comes first. If Marcus is ready to take this on, I'll support that decision. Excellent, Marcus interrupted before Thomas could say more. I'll start preparing immediately. The presentation is in 2 days, right? Yes, Thomas confirmed. Friday at 10, Apex is sending their entire executive team, including CEO Catherine Wilson. This is a huge opportunity, and I expect nothing short of perfection. He turned to me. Claire, make sure Marcus has everything he needs to be ready. Of course, I replied. All the files are finalized and ready for review. I can walk Marcus through them this afternoon if he'd like. No need, Marcus said quickly. I've already gone through most of the material. Just send me the final versions and any notes you think might be useful. I nodded, my pulse quickening with both dread and anticipation. Will do. As we stepped out of Thomas's office, Marcus leaned closer. No hard feelings, I hope. It's just business. Sometimes the best person for the job isn't the one who's been here the longest. I forced a smile. No hard feelings. I'm looking forward to seeing you in action. That evening, I made a point of working late, casually mentioning to colleagues that I was finalizing the Apex materials and would leave them on the server for Marcus. Then, very deliberately, I saved the latest versions of the decoy files into the compromised folder before packing up for the night. As I passed Amanda's desk in IT, she gave me a discreet thumbs up. Everything was in place. Driving home, I couldn't shake the unease. What if Marcus spotted the deception? What if he was sharper than I gave him credit for and caught the inconsistencies? What if Thomas reviewed the files himself before Friday? At 11:30, my phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. Fish took the bait. Downloaded all files 20 minutes ago. I exhaled a shaky breath. The plan was locked in. For better or worse, Marcus would present the doctored materials to Apex Corporation in less than 36 hours. That night, sleep was impossible. I tossed and turned, torn between satisfaction at Marcus finally facing consequences and fear that this could backfire, damaging the company instead of him. Was I putting personal revenge ahead of Fast Track's future? No, I reminded myself. I had the real presentation secured. If everything collapsed, I could still step in and save the day. This wasn't about revenge. It was about fairness. At 6 a.m., my phone rang. Rachel, one of our senior developers, sounded puzzled. "Claire, Marcus just called me asking about some technical specs in the proposal, but he was quoting details that don't match what we actually built." I tried to explain, but he insisted his version was right. "And he even said you signed off on them yesterday." My chest tightened. "What did you tell him?" I tried to clarify, but he got defensive. Said he'd figure it out himself. "Thank you, Rachel. Don't worry about it. I'll handle Marcus." After hanging up, I sat on the edge of my bed, heart pounding. Marcus had already hit discrepancies, but his pride kept him from questioning further. Instead, he was charging ahead with false confidence. Tomorrow was going to be very interesting. By 7:30, I was at the office, hours before the Apex team was due. The real presentation was triple-checked and saved on my encrypted drive. I even had a printed bound copy prepared as a backup. "Is this for Marcus?" the admin assistant asked when I handed her the USB. "No," I replied. "It's a backup. Keep it safe at your desk until I request it." At 8:45, executives began arriving. Thomas walked past in his tailored suit, his expression grave. "Everything ready for today, Claire?" "Yes, sir," I assured him. "The room's prepared, and Marcus should be ready to present." "You seem remarkably calm for someone who just had her project taken away," he remarked, eyeing me. I gave him a polite smile. "As I said yesterday, the company comes first." He studied me for a moment, then nodded. "Let's hope today goes well for all of us." At 9:15, Marcus finally arrived, looking polished in a brand new suit but carrying the faint edge of nerves. He clutched his laptop like a lifeline. "Morning, Claire," he said, trying for casual. "Ready for the big show?" "Always," I answered smoothly. "And you?" "Absolutely. I stayed up late polishing everything. Apex is going to be very impressed." "I'm sure they'll find it illuminating," I said, letting the word hang between us. At 9:45, the receptionist announced Apex had arrived. Thomas went to greet them personally while the rest of us took our seats in the conference room. I deliberately chose a seat directly across from where Marcus would be standing, determined to watch his face through every moment of the presentation. The Apex delegation was led by Catherine Wilson, their sharp-eyed CEO with a reputation for spotting weaknesses within seconds. Alongside her sat David Chen, their meticulous CTO Maya Patel, their no-nonsense CFO, and 3 other senior executives, seasoned professionals whose expressions gave little away. Thomas welcomed everyone warmly, introducing his leadership team and sharing a brief history of Fast Track solutions. Then, with a proud gesture toward Marcus, he announced, "And now I'd like to introduce my son, Adrian Cole, who will be leading our proposal for Apex Corporation's digital transformation initiative." Marcus strode forward with confidence, connecting his laptop to the system. "Thank you, Father." And thank you to the Apex team for joining us today. We at Fast Track are excited about the opportunity to partner with your esteemed organization on this transformative journey. I had to admit, his delivery was smooth. He had clearly rehearsed, if only the content matched the polish of his voice. At first, the Apex executives listened with polite attention, nodding along as Marcus outlined high-level needs and challenges. Catherine occasionally jotted notes, her expression unreadable. Then came the technical section, the very slides Amanda and I had altered. Our approach leverages a proprietary microservices architecture, Marcus declared, allowing seamless integration with your legacy systems while providing the scalability you'll need for future growth. I noticed David Chen's brow furrow. He leaned toward Catherine, whispering something that made her nod slightly. Marcus pressed on, oblivious. As you can see, we propose a phased implementation over 18 months, with core modules deployed within the first 60 days. Now David was openly frowning at the timeline. Maya Patel was scribbling furiously in her notebook. Moving to the financials, Marcus said, clicking to the next slide. Our analysis indicates a return on investment of 28% in year 1, rising to 42% by year 3. Maya's head snapped up, eyes narrowing. These projections were wildly inflated. The real proposal had far more conservative and realistic numbers. Catherine raised her hand. Marcus, could you explain how you arrived at these ROI figures? They seem unusually aggressive compared to industry benchmarks. Marcus hesitated, then tried to recover. They're based on efficiency gains, automation, reduced costs, and improved market share. Yes, Catherine pressed, but what specific metrics? For example, what percentage of cost reduction are you projecting in year 1? Marcus shuffled his notes, searching. Approximately 22% reduction in operational costs. David nearly laughed. 22%? That's double the industry's best outcomes. What breakthrough technology are you proposing that no one else has achieved? Marcus floundered, stringing together jargon that sounded increasingly hollow. I saw Thomas shift uncomfortably in his seat, glancing between his son and the skeptical Apex executives. Catherine cut in sharply. Let's discuss the timeline. You mentioned deployment within 60 days, yet your own diagram shows dependencies that typically take months. How will you deliver on this accelerated schedule? Beads of sweat formed on Marcus's forehead. We'll allocate additional resources. Our experienced team can ensure timely delivery. Additional resources mean additional costs, Maya noted coolly. Yet your budget doesn't reflect this. In fact, your numbers are significantly lower than industry norms, Thomas finally intervened, his voice tight. Perhaps we should take a short break. Marcus, a word outside. As they stepped out, the room fell into uneasy silence. The Apex team exchanged loaded glances. Then Catherine turned directly to me. Claire, you were originally leading this project. Would you care to comment on some of these discrepancies? This was it, the moment of truth. I chose a careful middle path. There do seem to be inconsistencies in the materials presented, ones that don't align with our usual approach. With your permission, I'd like to address them when Thomas and Marcus return. Catherine's gaze softened, as though she already knew. I would appreciate that. Minutes later, Thomas returned alone, his expression dark with anger and embarrassment. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the confusion. It appears there may have been issues with the presentation materials. Claire, could you clarify some of the concerns raised? I rose, steadying my breath. Of course. But first, I think I should explain what's happened here today. All eyes locked on me. Over the past week, someone has been accessing my account after hours, downloading confidential project files. When I discovered this, I consulted our IT security team. I gestured toward Amanda, seated nearby. She stood. That's correct. Our logs show multiple instances of Claire's credentials being used from unauthorized devices, specifically Adrian Cole laptop, at times when Claire wasn't even in the building. Thomas's jaw tightened. And you're saying, Marcus? Amanda nodded. The system logs confirm it. The access times line up exactly with Marcus's building entries, and the device fingerprint is an exact match. At that moment, Marcus stormed back into the room, his face flushed with fury. "This is absurd. Claire is sabotaging me because she's jealous you asked me to lead." I met his glare calmly. "I have evidence you stole my credentials and accessed my files. When I discovered it, instead of reporting you immediately, I created a set of decoy files filled with subtle inaccuracies. Those are the files you used today." The room froze in stunned silence. "That's ridiculous," Marcus sputtered. "Why would I need to steal her login? I'm an executive here. I already have access." "Not to my personal project files," I countered evenly. "And certainly not to my performance reviews, which you also accessed repeatedly." Thomas's face paled. "Marcus, is this true?" Before Marcus could protest again, Amanda stepped forward, tablet in hand. "Sir, I have the logs. They show Claire's account accessed from Marcus's device 12 times in the last 2 weeks. We set up a shadow system 5 days ago specifically to confirm this." Marcus's bravado collapsed. "Dad, this is a setup. They're conspiring to make me look incompetent." Thomas stared at him in disbelief. "By tricking you into presenting false information to our most important client? How would that possibly benefit Claire or Amanda?" Catherine cleared her throat. "Perhaps we should give you time to address this internally." "No," I said quickly, my voice steady. "Please stay. The real proposal for Apex is ready. It directly addresses every concern you've raised today." I turned to the administrative assistant hovering by the door. "Could you bring in the backup presentation I gave you this morning?" As she hurried off, I continued. What Marcus presented was a deliberately flawed version of our proposal. The real plan includes realistic timelines, accurate financial projections, and technically sound strategies. I created those decoy files to confirm my suspicions about unauthorized access without making immediate accusations. The assistant soon returned with the bound presentation packages, which I handed to the Apex team and Thomas. "If you'll allow me," I said while connecting my laptop to the display system, "I'd like to walk you through our actual proposal for Apex Corporation's digital transformation." For the next 45 minutes, I carefully presented the real plan, addressing every inconsistency from Marcus's version. I explained our technical foundation, the achievable implementation schedule, and the conservative yet promising financial outlook. As I spoke, the Apex executives relaxed, nodding. At points that now aligned logically, asking insightful questions I was fully prepared to answer. Marcus, meanwhile, sat in silence, his expression shifting between anger and humiliation. Thomas watched us both intently, his shock slowly giving way to disappointment in his son and perhaps a renewed respect for me. When I finished, Catherine nodded thoughtfully. "This makes much more sense. Your approach is ambitious but grounded in reality, exactly what we're looking for in a technology partner." "Thank you," I replied. "My team has worked tirelessly on this proposal, and we're confident in delivering on everything I've outlined today." Catherine turned to Thomas. "We'll still need to discuss some specifics, but this gives us a strong foundation. Perhaps we could schedule a follow-up next week?" Thomas, who had remained quiet, nodded. "Of course, and I sincerely apologize for the earlier confusion. Please know that Fast Track takes both data security and client relationships extremely seriously." As the meeting wrapped up, Thomas asked me to stay behind. Catherine paused on her way out and said quietly, "Claire, impressive work today, on multiple levels. I look forward to working with you directly." The door closed, leaving me alone with Thomas, CEO of Fast Track, and father of the man I had just exposed. Thomas sank heavily into a chair, loosening his tie. For a moment he said nothing, just stared at the table, gathering his thoughts. When he finally looked up, his expression was a mixture of anger, respect, and resignation. "You took quite a risk today, Claire," he said calmly. "You could have reported the unauthorized access right away." I stayed standing. "Yes, sir, I could have. But I wanted to be absolutely certain before making accusations against your son." Thomas nodded slowly. "And setting up decoy files, was that really necessary?" In my judgment, yes, I replied. Marcus needed to face the consequences of his actions. If I had just blocked him or gone to HR immediately, he might have found another way to undermine the project. This way, the truth revealed itself, with minimal long-term damage to the company. Minimal damage? Thomas raised an eyebrow. We nearly lost a $50 million client. But we didn't, I countered. In fact, Catherine seemed more impressed by how we handled the situation than she might have been with a flawless presentation. She saw not just our technical expertise, but our honesty and accountability. Thomas was quiet for a moment, weighing my words. Then he sighed. You know, Claire, in 25 years of business, I've made mistakes. But perhaps the greatest was letting my relationship with Marcus cloud my judgment. I wanted him to succeed so badly that I gave him chances he hadn't earned and ignored behavior I'd never tolerate from anyone else. He's your son, I said softly. It's natural to want the best for him. Yes, but shielding him has only hurt him. After his mother passed, I tried to protect him from everything difficult or painful. And now he believes success is a right, not something earned. I wasn't sure how to respond to such vulnerability from my usually stoic boss. Thank you, Claire, Thomas continued. Thank you for not running straight to the board or turning this into a spectacle. You protected the company while ensuring the truth came out. That was always my goal, I assured him. I've invested 6 years into Fast Track. I'd never jeopardize its future for a personal grievance, Thomas stood. Decision made. Effective immediately. I'm promoting you to Director of Enterprise Development. You'll report directly to me and oversee all major client projects, including Apex, I blinked. Thank you, sir. As for Marcus, he added, he'll start over. Entry-level position. No privileges. If he wants a future here, he'll earn it like everyone else. Can I count on you to treat him fairly when your paths cross? I shook his hand firmly. Absolutely. Everyone deserves a second chance to prove themselves. In the weeks that followed, change swept through Fast Track. My promotion was announced alongside a restructuring that placed Marcus in a junior analyst role, far from my department. The Apex contract was officially signed, with me as the lead contact. Elizabeth and Amanda even organized a small celebration. Elizabeth raised her glass. To Claire, who proved that patience and intelligence beat entitlement every time, I smiled and corrected her. To integrity and hard work, the only true path to success. That night, driving home, I reflected on it all. Things with Marcus could have gone differently. I could have lashed out, gone to HR, or even quit. All would have been justified, but none would have led to this outcome. The truth is, in life and in work, we all face people who seem to have every advantage. It's easy to feel bitter about the unfairness, but eventually, everyone must face the reality of their own abilities and character. We can't control what others do, but we can control how we respond. The line between revenge and justice is thin, and I had walked it carefully. My goal was never to humiliate Marcus, but to let the truth surface naturally. In doing so, I not only protected myself, but maybe gave him the wake-up call he needed. In business, and in life, our real strength doesn't come from titles or connections. It comes from integrity, competence, and resilience. Sometimes we must let others fail so they can learn. Sometimes, standing firm quietly is more powerful than confrontation. And sometimes, protecting what matters requires taking risks. Have you ever faced someone who tried to take credit for your work or undermine you? How did you handle it? Share your stories in the comments below. And if you found this story helpful, please like and subscribe for more lessons learned from real professional experiences. Share this with someone who's navigating office politics or difficult coworkers. Remember this: in both work and life, integrity and smart choices always win in the end. Thank you for listening, and may you have the courage to stand tall, the wisdom to act wisely, and the success you truly deserve.